Hey everybody, Mike Nicodema from Greenberg Trarig's Equine Industry Law Group, coming to you as always from Wellington, Florida, the horse sports capital of the world. Welcome to another episode of the Minute with Mike podcast, where I have the pleasure of sitting down with leaders of the horse sports industry and talking about their life's journeys. Now, our U.S. equestrian athletes, some of the greatest athletes in the world, they don't become that. They don't win on the world stage by themselves. They need a community of supporters to help them achieve their goals and achieve their dreams. One of the organizations that helps them do that is the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation. This year we have the 2026 World Championships in Aachen, and the Olympics in LA are right around the corner. They need us now more than ever. They need their help. They need the community to help them with the financial support they need to achieve their goals on the world stage. Let me tell you a little bit about the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation. It's a philanthropic partner to USEF's high-performance programs. They raise funds that help make it possible for our athletes and horses to train, travel, and compete at the highest levels of equestrian sports. While USEF governs the sport, the foundation ensures the critical resources are there to support excellence. Its funding helps bridge the gap between what it takes to be competitive globally and what traditional funding sources can provide. I'm thrilled today to have two members of the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation. Bonnie Jenkins is the executive director, and she has held that position for 22 years, since 2004. My good friend Philip Richter, when he's not busy with all the other things he does, is an officer of the foundation, and he serves as the foundation's treasurer. Bonnie and Philip are here to talk about the critical role the foundation plays in helping our equestrian athletes achieve success on the world stage. Great to see you guys.
Nice to be here.
All right, Bonnie, Philip's a veteran of the show, and as he can tell you, we like to jump right in, okay? And we'll start with you. Why does the foundation matter?
Foundation provides the critical funding to let our athletes go travel and compete around the world. It helps support younger athletes who are trying to make their mark, move up the pathway, and compete internationally, and hopefully one day represent the country on a senior team as well. And in our country, there is no government funding. So about half of all funding to high performance comes from philanthropy, charitable gifts from people involved in our sport who love the sport, they're patriots, they want to see our athletes on top of that podium. They want to hear our national anthem played, and they have been really loyal supporters of the foundation and of our athletes and teams.
You use the word philanthropy, and it's an important word. I think it's overused in society, but here, when it comes to having been in the horse sports world for the last 35 years, it's an important word, and I think it really resonates. And Philip, why don't you pick up the ball here? Tell us about the role of philanthropy and the core message of the foundation.
Well, Mike, I think in your opening statement, you made a very interesting comment that was that none of these athletes do this on their own, right? You may have a very talented athlete who's a very good rider, but when you look at the mosaic of what it takes to get an athlete from the show ring to the Olympic Games ultimately, because that's really the ultimate goal here, to get on the podium at the Olympics and medal for America. There are so many inputs that go into that. There's the animal, right? The horse. There's the trainer. There's the farrier. There's the veterinarian, right? There's the financing of all of it. And as a lot of people, I think, understand, the Olympic movement is one that doesn't really allow someone to pay their own way to be on a team. There's a team, and that team is supported by organizations like the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation, the USOC, et cetera. And so it's really important when one looks at this, the complexity that it takes to put all this together. And I'm not just talking about the financing, which is the part of the U.S. Equestrian Team Foundation, where we rely on our highly supportive donors who have patriotism in mind, supporting the sport, supporting in many cases their own riders indirectly by gifting and helping the whole when their own either child or their own family are actually participating. And we've had many members of the USET be extremely supportive and generous and see their own children or families go on to win medals, which is super exciting. So it's philanthropic. It's about doing great things for the sport, doing great things for America, and getting on the podium. And our donors, what makes me so excited as treasurer is we have donors that give $100 a year. Okay, when you put that together, and we get many donors at $100 a year, you get a much more broad base of support, and every dollar is super important. And we have donors who give us unbelievable sums of money to support and have for years, and they do it from their heart and from a great place of wanting to help the teams. But it's not just money; it's all those other pieces have to fit in as well. So it's a very, I think if people stop and look at what it takes to make this all happen, we are one crucial part of it. But there's lots of parts that have to come together, almost like a symphony.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think the key word that you mentioned was the complexity of all of this. You go to a horse show, you go to a 5-star at WEF, or you go to Ocala, or you go anywhere to see these unbelievable riders, these unbelievable horses competing. And if you're not in the business, if you're not in the horse world, it looks easy. It looks, wow, this is terrific, and isn't that the way it's supposed to be? But there's so much that goes into it to get them to that place. And so now, Bonnie, let me turn to you. Supporting high performance today, supporting these young folks, supporting their goals and their dreams, where do the funds actually go? How do we use them?
The funds contribute to everything from developing programs, young athletes who get selected for a training session perhaps with some of our elite riders, or they participate on Nations Cup teams for young riders and can go over to Europe. And that's giving them that crucial team experience that they would have no other way of getting if these programs didn't exist that we help fund. As well as the team behind the team. Our funding helps that. Every time our country sends a team to a Nations Cup, we are envied around the world. We hear it all the time. The United States has the best support system when we compete internationally. From the grooms to the farriers, the veterinarians, the physios, team doctors. If anything should happen, which it does when you're traveling internationally, our team behind the team exceeds all others. And that's a huge part of that support. So while athletes are supported in terms of their participation, a critical piece that sometimes people don't realize is that team behind the team. And then, of course, our elite teams, World Championships, as you mentioned this year, they're huge. In equestrian sport, they're really almost as big as an Olympic Games. They are really the pinnacle of equestrian sport. And in Aachen, it's going to be really, really exciting. Our funding directly helps that championship. And at the same time, those pathway programs, because LA 28, 2.5 years away, and could be some of our younger riders who kind of matriculate up that pathway and may find themselves competing for the country in LA. You just don't know. But you got to it's a continuous funding. And it's not, a lot of people think, oh, the Olympic Games are coming. Maybe I'm going to, send in a contribution. Mm-hmm. But this starts years ago, and it's continuous because you have to be supporting the developing athletes at the same time you're supporting your senior teams. So it's, as Philip alluded to, we're so fortunate with the loyal base of longtime supporters, but we really want to, look to the broader equestrian community and invite them all to participate because this is their team. It's America's team, and we want everybody in the equestrian community to really feel when we see them stand on that podium that's their team too.
Yeah.
And Mike, one thing that we should mention that's been very exciting, I think, the last 5 years, there's, the sport is growing by leaps and bounds, right? We're seeing new participants in the sport coming in, younger people coming into the sport, and we have seen really great support from those new people coming into the sport. So, as Bonnie alluded to, this is a long-term outlay, right? It's not something where, we're going to just start raising money now to go to the Olympics. Like we need to be raising money, but also pathway programs for the Olympics after LA and the Olympics after that. I mean, there's a very long gestation period here where you plant the seed and the seed grows very slowly from an sapling to an oak.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's been great is a lot of support from the West Coast of the United States. I mean, show jumping is and all disciplines are so active now across the country. And we're seeing really great support and actually really meaningful board participation, committees, a lot of new people joining committees of the USET Foundation, a lot of new board members who are very, very dedicated to the sport. And that new blood and that new perspective is also super valuable. And Bonnie's done and her team in Gladstone have done an amazing job at this. It's not just the pipeline of riders and helping support them, but it's the organization itself that has to stay alive, right, and thrive and grow and mature and change and evolve. And so I'm very proud of the work we did on the nominating committee the last 5 years to bring new people onto the board, onto the committee, the advisory board, et cetera. So we're very excited about the future. And the future of the sport is obviously complex. There's a lot of things going on related to cost, and that's where we step in to try to help clear that jump. And it's exciting. The future is exciting, I think, for what we're doing.
And this brings to mind, like in my own law firm, we are very passionate, and me in particular, very passionate about training our young lawyers for the future, to be the next generation. And I think, Philip, what you said was very important. You're not just looking for today's team. How do you plan that for 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Well, there's kind of two things happening here, right? There's the pathway programs that are helping identify future talent and helping them get on teams, helping them get mentoring from the right people, and getting on the soil in Europe to show and compete in a venue like that builds the experience that maybe 10 years later will be called upon, right? So this kind of thing. But then there's inside the USET Foundation the same sort of long-term planning. So as far as leadership, board members, National Advisory Committee board members, all of these things are, they always use the metaphor of the shark. If the shark stops swimming, it dies, right? So we're always swimming and kind of moving forward. And it's not just the mission of ultimately getting on the podium, but having this pipeline of talent and getting them that talent experience in a way that helps cover a portion of it financially to make it viable. But then also we have to look inside the organization every day and be sure that we've got great leadership and that we have the words getting out, that people can get engaged and get involved, either by donating or by actually participating in a whatever level position they're interested in being, if they want to be on the advisory board or if they want to be on the actual board or an officer. Our board is so supportive of what we do, which is something Bonnie's been amazing at doing, is cultivating these relationships. And again, I think it's people give to the USET Foundation because they want to lean in, right? Mm-hmm. They want to lean in and help us get ultimately to the podium. And that's a long road. It's a really long road, and it's complicated.
Philip was talking about pathway programs, Bonnie, and I'd like to dig into that a little deeper. There's no secret that in the industry there can be a wealth gap. How do these pathway programs exist and operate to kind of bridge that gap?
Yeah, so last year, which is tremendously exciting, we, through a wonderful gift from one of our trustees, we were able to establish the Performance Pathway Jumping Grant Program. And this program is specifically designed for young jumping athletes, U25, who may get selected. It could be for a training session across the country. It could be for a Nations Cup, going to young riders, anything of that nature, where they have qualified, but they may not have the means. They may be getting a grant from through funding we give to the USEF, but it might not be enough. we all know it's the really...
It's usually not enough.
Yeah, it's a really expensive program. So they can apply to our Performance Pathway Jumping Grant Program for supplemental funding.
Okay.
And their application will be reviewed, and we are in the business of wanting to make sure that there is no financial barrier. And so we've been able, this past year, we were able to give out, it was 7 or 8 grants to young athletes, everything from some athletes that went to the North American Young Rider Championships in the children's and junior divisions, up to an athlete who was a U25 athlete who went over to Europe and competed in a 3-star Nations Cup. So we really, this program is going to grow, and it's going to really give a lot of these athletes an opportunity to make sure that no financial barrier exists. If they can qualify, they can go. And we're really, really excited about that.
It's a really big deal. We're really excited.
You know, it's funny. I've had very well-known riders on the show, and it seems like almost everybody has a story about that. At one time or another in their lives, they reach this crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I financially do this? Can I get to the next level? Mm-hmm. And with the foundation here, it's just amazing, and the dedication of both of you and the rest of the foundation to make sure that all of these young folks have an opportunity to get to the next level. It's just terrific. But now I think it matters more than ever. And I'll throw this one to Philip. It's important to do this now and not 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah, I mean that's the challenge that the USET has, is that it's the treadmill is moving faster, the costs are going higher, the complexity is becoming greater, and we have the LA Olympics, which is literally around the corner. It's here and now, right? And the next Olympics will be quickly after that, and the treadmill is steep, it's running quickly, but we're watching that. And one of the things that we're very careful to do is a lot of planning, right? And understanding, like looking out on the horizon, like what's coming. So I've been involved with the team now a long time.
Long as I
My parents and my grandparents were involved in the team as well. My grandfather in the 50s. But I think one thing that we've really learned a lot about is planning. Right, and so the relationship between the USEF and the USET is very strong. There is an enormous amount of planning that goes into the pathway programs, the timing, identifying talent, working. Robert Ridlin and Team Chef, and planning and looking at all these different venues like the World Championships and some of these learning venues in Europe that young riders can go to. Like, this is all. Some of this success is all chance, and you have talent, and a great horse meets opportunity, and it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it falls into, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and it's not just financial. Financial is a big part of it for our side, but then there's the whole other side of it.
There's a program that I know is near and dear to both of you, and I'll throw this one to Philip, the Pathway to the Podium program. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so we're going to officially launch the campaign, Pathway to the Podium. This is a $55 million campaign. We've internally launched the campaign, and we've been very successful at the beginning of raising capital to, again, we've got LA coming at us. We have a whole panoply of opportunity in front of us that we need to raise capital for, and the Pathway is our current project, and we're really excited about it. We're off to a very good start. However, it's a really steep climb, $55 million, right? And so we're going to be reaching out to our broader base of supporters, new supporters. We're becoming very, very fluent in social media and proper outreach. We do a lot of direct mail and very successful, proven methods of reaching out to people, but we're also investing a lot of effort and time to be forward-leaning to get a broader base of support. Because in our view, the broader the base of support, the higher our chances of success. And if we can bring more people with us, as you know, right, in a university endowment setting, right, when you graduate from college, the day you graduate, you get the letter saying, hey, would you give $100 to the Boston College campaign? Well, that's because that person someday is going to be running a big company,
Yes.
right? And they're going to be able to build a building on campus or have the so we think very thoughtfully about increasing our donor base. Yes, we need big gifts. We need large gifts for sure. Needle moving gifts are crucial, but we also need to be really thoughtful. And this is where Bonnie and the whole team up in Gladstone has been very sophisticated in getting a broader base of support and cultivating those next generation donors that maybe 20 years from now, when we're at the Olympics and who knows where they'll be, that we have the support. Right, so it's such a long ball game that we have to be thoughtful administratively of how to do this. So that's another thing that's a really important point. Like, it is really hard to raise money. It's really hard to do it, and you have to do it right. Very many times you only get one bite at the apple, right? So you have to approach people in the right way. You have to get a broad base of support so you have a next generation group behind you that's there, that continues to donate. We are have been very fortunate that we I don't know, Bonnie, like 20 years ago we really started working with multi-year pledges. So multi-year pledges helps kind of smooth the lumpiness of cash flow and let us forecast on what we can do and how much we can give to the Federation to enable programs. So we have better visibility, better financial forecasting, better planning. It's not as simple as, make a donation and we go to the Olympics. Like it's unbelievable. Like, I've learned in the last 15 years just how complicated and how nuanced fundraising can be.
Yeah, and there with LA coming up soon, could be tomorrow.
We got Aachen tomorrow.
Yeah, we have Aachen tomorrow, which is like one thing at a time.
And then LA the day after.
Yeah.
It's coming. This pathway to the podium program, there's some urgency involved here.
There absolutely is, because, as you mentioned, we do have Aachen this year, and that's a huge undertaking because we've been kind of referring to jumping for the most part, but there are 7 international disciplines, and we actively raise money for all 7. Obviously, some are stronger than others in their philanthropy, and some are just bigger in terms of the number of people competing. But there are 7 different disciplines. There's jumping, there's dressage, there's eventing, there's para-dressage, there's driving, endurance, and vaulting. So I think I got all 7. So the scope of what we are trying to support is significant, but it's exciting when you see even our para athletes who are number 1 in the world and have been for a couple of years. And I'd like to just say, when the foundation first started and para was kind of new in our country, they were like at the bottom, and now, over the course of the last probably 5 to 7 years, they have gone from being last in the world to being a strong number 1. Wow. And the reason that that's possible not only is because we've got these amazing athletes, but there was funding in place that would allow us to go higher, or I should say the USCF higher, but our funding allowed them to hire the best para dressage coach in the world. And he has been running this program, and he got right in there and said, you need better horses, you need better training, and the things that they're able to do because the support is there, they are, without question, number 1 in the world, and they're going to go into the World Championships this year as number 1, and I suspect heading towards LA they will be as well. So that's just another example. Eventing also. Boyd Martin was number 1 in the world earlier this year. And he's amazing. If anybody came to our benefit, Cassie Sanger, a young up-and-coming eventing rider, she is the poster child for eventing pathway programs. She has come right up through them. I think she's only maybe 20, 21 years old. She's definitely a contender for Aachen this year. She's definitely a contender for LA 2028. So these pathway programs that our funding has helped not only support, but let them expand. So many more athletes across all the disciplines are getting this opportunity to be mentored, to have those international experiences, and hopefully be on senior teams. So it's really, really exciting.
So you have 7 disciplines.
Yep.
And you're raising funds for all 7 disciplines.
We're doing our best.
And it's hard enough to raise funds to begin with. How do you navigate, how do you make sure that all 7 disciplines are getting exactly what they need for their athletes and their horses?
Well, we work hard, and we work closely with US Equestrian and their discipline managers there. So we have a really good grasp on what their sport programs look like for each discipline, and where their needs are. So we actively, in our own work, seek out people within those disciplines that we think might be interested in helping support, and try to talk with them about not only supporting that discipline, but getting more engaged with the USET Foundation. So it's a collaborative effort, and pretty much all this money that we raise, we provide a grant annually to US Equestrian. That's kind of how the funding chain works. So in any given year, we're giving them literally anywhere from, $3 to over $4 million. But that's all money that we've been able to raise through the generous people in our equestrian community. And when we give them that grant, we tell them X% is unrestricted, X% goes to jumping, dressage, or whichever. And that's based on donor, I don't even want to say restrictions, but people will make a gift to maybe jumping, or they'll make it to para dressage, so that the wishes of each donor can be honored as well. And a lot of people just make it unrestricted and say where the need is greatest. So US Equestrian will allocate that money that we provide to them down into the various disciplines to make sure their programs are fully supported.
Now, you guys are behind the scenes doing a tremendous amount of great work. The athletes are out there riding their horses, getting ready for their events, and their focus is on that. What's the messaging and the communication mechanism so the athletes know, to see the people behind the curtain, to know that you're there for them?
Yeah, I think they do. They do definitely know. They understand the expense of the sport because, just the investment that they and their owners need to make in these horses is significant. And just having horses, as everybody knows, competing all year long and keeping them in top physical condition and ready to compete for the country is a huge investment. So when our country sends a team, at that point, we hope the support we provide, owners don't have to put their hands in their pockets. That's America's team, and that's what we're helping send. And I think they do realize that at that point, Nations Cup, championship events, they get nice funding that will allow their owners not to have the whole expense.
Sure. Yeah.
So, we really want to make sure that everything that we're doing will make sure it's the best team behind the team, the best logistical and support system that they can have, and that their owners can go and enjoy and know, they're basically lending their horse to the United States for when they're representing our country. So the athletes they're very grateful, and they understand that this funding is critical for them to achieve their dreams too.
Sure, 100%.
And I think also the idea, these athletes across all disciplines, America is very team oriented, right? So there's a team culture across our disciplines, and there has been for generations. And so I think these riders really understand the importance of the team. I mean, of all the money that's flowed into the sport over the last 30 years, and $1 million Grand Prix, multi-million-dollar Grand Prix, if you were to ask someone like McLean Ward, what's the goal? The goal is a gold medal. Right? It's not about, now a gold medal's actually worth a lot of money now, right? It's gold at $5,000 an ounce, right? But it's not about that, right? It's about the gold medal. It's about the team. It's about the Olympics. So our riders are really, I believe, across disciplines, have strongly inculcated in them that the team is the important part of it globally, and that yes, the Olympics are the pinnacle of that, but there's a lot of other events and important venues before you get to that level. And so we support that all the way through. And the Federation manages all those programs and pathway programs.
So, Philip, for this public launch of the Pathway to the Podium program, tell us a little bit about the emphasis on the next generation and the community messaging to get the word out.
Yes, so I mean, we talked a little bit about the various ways the team communicates. I mean, Bonnie and her team are on the ground. We are at a lot of events all the time. We host really great events depending on the year, depending on the event. We just had a fantastic fundraiser here in Wellington, which was a huge success in January. We are quite proficient. I'm very proud of how proficient we are on social media and spreading the word about what we're doing and the campaign. Believe me, every single person in equestrian sports is going to know about this campaign, and we're going to make sure that message is continually broadcasted in an effective and tactful way. Our donors, they give when they can, how they can, and oftentimes just because a donor doesn't make a donation this year doesn't mean they won't make a gift next year. And so there's a lot of sensitivity and analysis and thought that goes in on our side on how and when we approach different donors and thinking about what's best for them, what's best for the sport. And then, of course, the factoring of what the actual federation needs in a given year of support. So as treasurer, I do a lot of work in working with the team in Kentucky to understand their budget and what their planning is for these different pathway programs. And then, of course, you have the cadence of the Olympics every 4 years, and you have the World Championships. And so we will get the word out. This is a great way, being on your podcast, to help. Thanks for having us to talk about the Pathway to the Podium and $55 million. We're on our way, but we're nowhere near where we need to be. And by taking it public, which is really a great thing, is the amount of support, the order of operations for a campaign like this is we turn inward to all of our board members and all the people who are stakeholders directly of the foundation and the federation too, and get their support. So we're all in sync, right? We're supporting the sport first and foremost, and then we'll be asking people to follow. And so that's really great when you have a board that's 100% committed to what we're doing, and they all step up first, and then we go public with the campaign. We're all engaged. We're all in, which is really fun.
And it's really inviting. I think we mentioned earlier, inviting the rest of the equestrian community to be part of this. Yeah. It's really, we have a very comprehensive, fundraising program. So it's everything from that very important $35 donor who's there every single year, come heck or high water, and then up to our major donors. But they're all really, really important. As Philip mentioned, we want to broaden the community, broaden the support, and let everybody really feel part of this. And could be through that annual support, could be through a benefit, could be through a major gift. We welcome all of it, and we want them to feel part of it, because they are.
We also have, surprisingly, a lot of people think about us in their estate planning, which is a great way to give as well to the team, right? And we've had a lot of success. And I just reiterate what Bonnie said, no donation is too small. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to get engagement, right? And have more and more people enjoy this sport across disciplines and support it and be able to say that they're a part of it. And so a $35 donor is really important to us. A $35,000 donor is really important to us. Everyone's treated equal, right? And it's a team effort. The team is for the team, right?
Team is for the team.
Yeah.
All right, Bonnie. The call to action. Take us home. Tell the viewers, what's the takeaway you'd like the folks listening to the show to have?
Yeah, well, we have an incredible opportunity, right? We mentioned ACA next year, but obviously everybody can recognize and get excited about a home Olympic Games. More people are going to be able to go and attend and cheer on our team. And we want to make sure that the United States equestrian teams across all disciplines, when they get there, they know they have all the resources they need to perform at their very best, and that we know we have left no stone unturned in making sure that when they walk in that arena, they're competing for something much bigger than themselves. They're competing for their entire country, and everybody there cheering them on. And we have an opportunity right now to do that. We've got the talent in this country. We have the opportunity, and now we need everybody to rally around and help bring this home, so we can all go out there and hear our national anthem played and know that we all had a part in getting them there.
Aachen 2026, LA 2028.
Yeah, they're coming fast.
Okay. Well, guys, that's it. We reached the end of the show.
Great.
I can't tell you how grateful I am that you both came on today. It's such an important topic. It's such an important foundation for our equestrian athletes. Can I ask you to do me one favor and come on again?
Sure.
Sure.
Because as we get closer to LA, there's so much more that we can talk about. And I know you guys are busy, but anytime you can give would be wonderful. All right, folks, there you have it. This wraps up another episode of the Minute with Mike podcast. We have some great shows coming up. A wise man once said, there has always been a special relationship between humans and horses since there has been humans and horses. And you know who that wise man was, Bonnie?
Who?
Me. Love your horses, everybody. We have some great shows coming up. Check us out on Phelps Media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned and see you all soon. Have a great day. Mike is out.